heard and respected. Our first plan of action will be to rebuild our post by restoring the foundation of our post. Our foundation is built on the premise that our local veterans and community come first. We are veterans who work for the benefit and welfare of fellow veterans. Our mission is to ensure that moving forward, our veterans and community know this. Once our foundation has been strengthened, we'll build upon the program that will include participation in activities by Polo students of all ages and grade levels, instilling them the knowledge of what our veterans have sacrificed for all of America. We intend to make sure the post moving forward honors Patrick Fegan's sacrifice by conducting ourselves and our activities in the spirit of Patrick Fegan, and by referring to his name as the proper and official post title. With that being said, at this time I would like to present Marty Rand, our new commander of Patrick Fegan Post 83, and someone I personally am very pleased to support and work beside to get this post back to what it was meant to be, to say a few words for him. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, City Council, Cynthia. Most of you probably know that I was born and raised here. I joined the military in '92, was a corpsman in the Navy for 4 years, had them pay for my nursing school. Deployed in 2003 at the start of OIF. I was on the USNS Comfort, so we received all the casualties from Baghdad and everything that happened over there. Few duty stations in between. Navy put me back through school for becoming a nurse practitioner. Deployed on the Mercy, which is the other hospital ship on the other side of the coast, on a humanitarian mission, and then I also deployed back to the Middle East in 2017, and then recently retired in last October, and then returned back home. As Cynthia said, the Legion is here to support our veterans in the area and our community. That's our main goal, and that's where we hope to push the Patrick Fegan post. So we're going to be, like she said a lot, so I don't have to say much, but really working on meeting our veterans that aren't members and trying to boost our numbers, because with the Legion, it's not just local, it also pushes issues towards Congress, right? We're Congress mandated, so the more veterans we have involved at our level, the more our voice is heard at Congress's level for those veterans benefits at the hospitals or in the communities. So we'll be definitely working on that. And then also trying to get back into the community and be a positive light. I sent out a message on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page that, you know, I hope everybody has good thoughts of what the post used to be back in the day. If you have an idea of what you liked that we did 10, 20, 30 years ago, something you've seen other posts do, please let myself or Cynthia or go on our Facebook page, and you can comment there, because we'd like to have community involvement on where we are going with our direction. And then of course just asking for everybody's help, right? If you know veterans in the area that are sick or need something, or, you know, we're only 1 or 2 people, but with a whole community, if you know veterans that are in assistance or would like to help, please let us know also, and we can give them assistance they need, or, you know. Any questions? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Justin?
I have 2 things. Normally I probably wouldn't just come do this, but this happened when I was still alderman. First, I had a lady come up to me the other day that could take her grandchildren to the pool. One of the last park board meetings, so I didn't bring it up then. But she was 100% thrilled with our staff and our management there. She had nothing but praise for everyone, and I just want to make sure that's known. It's been a kind of a transition with new managers and whatnot. It's good to hear the good feedback. The second thing is, which I had talked to a few of the aldermen already, where both of our park employees have spent now a good week with setting up soccer fields, which, hey, that's great. If you do it on your own time, that's taxpayers' dollars that are going away to a privately funded league. And I don't think that's right. he's the only one profiting. We supply the field, the property, we supply storage for all of his equipment. He shouldn't have to have the taxpaying dollars work for him too. So, hopefully something will be done.
Thank you, Justin. Any comments from anybody else?
I may have a comment, I'm not sure. I have never been to a city hall meeting before. I represent the buildings at 104, 106, and 108, Mason. I recently, I was given an article by the Sauk Valley Media saying that there may be an interest in my properties and so forth. I've not been part of this discussion. So I have to come to you to figure out what's going on with my properties. And I've been here for 3 years, and this chair here is a pretty good representation of the reception I have had since I've been in Polo. I would like to know, is my building on the table for purchase, or through eminent domain, you're just gonna take my property and then decide at a later date what you feel fair market value is for it? Is that your strategy? Instead of coming forward, as an entity, being straightforward, it seems like things are being done behind the scenes. And I'm just a casualty of whatever is going to happen within the town. That's my perception. So I'm curious, I just have 2 questions. One is, are my properties on the table? Is this something the city might be interested in? And the second is, are you going to negotiate with me, or are you just planning on taking it through eminent domain, seeing where the chips fall, and go from there? And that's all I really care about here at this meeting, really. I haven't felt comfortable in Polo since I've been here. I get a bad vibe altogether. I do not feel like I've been received warmly. It feels like this is a how would you say, a local, good old boy kind of town where if you're not connected, you're not going to get anywhere. And so I think I've been shut down before I had a chance to grow any within this community. And so again, just the 2 questions. Is this on the table? Isn't it? Are you discussing with me? You're taking it through eminent domain. It's what I'm here to find out.
As far as I know, the property has been suggested by the public that would be a good place for City Hall possibly.
Yes.
But as far as making any moves forward or any conversation, we have not had anything on that. The only way that it could ever be possible probably be if we could take and get it for the taxes or whatever the property would be worth, and possibly back bills owed to the
Yes,
city.
about 10 grand is where it's at right now, and I figured that was your strategy. It was just to wait to see if it went to court, then you guys can buy it at a tax sale. Figured that was more or less a strategy, considering that you weren't interested in buying the property in the first place. If you wouldn't have been reelected, then there would have been more interest in my property. But because you were, you didn't have it. I don't know how it's tied in. I just,
It's not that I would not have interest in it, because I don't work on my own agenda. I work on the people who elected me's agenda.
Sure.
And when the Cedar Stone building fell through because of unpopularity with certain people, then that was my goal. I don't mind admitting it. I thought that was the direction that I thought we should go in, but when it didn't happen that way, I didn't make any waves or anything like that. I listened to what people had to say. People think that it should be downtown. Okay, I listened to that. But where would it be downtown, Would we wanna build across the street? Would we wanna take the lot over by the police station? Your buildings would be a possibility. It's all up in the air. And since the deal closed down on the Cedar Stone building, we have not made any moves as far as what we're gonna do.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, if I had a choice in the matter, I wouldn't even put the city hall there. I don't think it belongs there, because what you're doing is you're relegating yourself to just the downtown strip. And what you're doing is that's going to be Polo's future. If you were to maybe put the city hall on the other side of that Schoen Insurance Agency over there where that seasonal Christmas place is, you got an empty lot there. Now you're expanding the dimension of the city instead of just the one strip. I mean, it seems like you're You're not looking at future expansion. With that said, it doesn't work in my best interests. I mean,
I believe.
sure, I'd like,
I believe, Eric, the first thought up by you was to take Louise Quick Park and move that to where the old hotel was, and just simply use Louise Quick Park, you know? And then through some comments of some people that were in this room, we talked about them buildings. Nothing's been done, there's nothing, you're in danger of nothing. Cause like the mayor just told you, the only way we're interested in that place is if we get it for the back taxes.
sure,
And that,
sure.
there's
Well,
one way to stop that.
You
Put
give
back
me
taxes.
relief then. That's a great deal of relief for me because again, I am building what I have incrementally, very small. I can't fight larger entities. I have so many smaller battles that I'm dealing with. The building that I'm paying for right now over there that's vacant, it's vacant because the water was shut off and I can't get it on because I don't have the funds. When I came to the city with $1,000, that wasn't good enough. They wanted 15, so I lost my tenancy. All 3 addresses are tied to that one water. So 3 buildings I can't rent out. You know how I've been paying for it? It's not been paid. I'm paying for it out of my pocket through my income. I work 40 hours a week and I'm paying for that building out of that. And I'm getting the impression through the media, at least, because I'm not hearing anything from the city, that it's practically an abandoned property. And I'm doing as much as I can as one individual. I have over 100 units, over 100 tenants that I deal with besides these. And so I've got a lot on my plate besides Polo. But I don't come to Polo as a place to unwind and get away and feel like something's happening. I come here on edge, looking over my shoulder, keeping my windows drawn. I'm not comfortable here, and again, it's a reception that the community has given me. I haven't done anything to deserve that. So as far as I'm concerned, thank you for telling me that it's a matter of the back taxes. They're going to be cured in short order. That's not an issue for me. An issue for me was the fact that you guys were to come in and just take the property and then decide later on down the road what you feel fair market value is, because that seems like you're taking advantage of a situation. So
There'd be a whole bunch of legalities that would have to happen before we could ever do that.
Well,
I don't think you were in any danger of anything.
a tax sale is a straightforward process. If I don't pay the taxes, it goes to tax sale. It's in your hands.
But we're not gonna go to a tax sale. I don't know if City Hall has ever done that. Not that I know.
Yeah, Alden and Sean, I don't know. I've never been. But you guys, thank you very much for your time. I wish everyone the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
All right.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving on to committee reports. Beth?
Okay, concession stand is ongoing. Jim's been on Facebook quite a bit this week with pictures and videos of the progress they're making. The pool during the park board meeting.
The cheap seats aren't too bad, are
As of the meeting on the 21st, they've had over 4,000 come through so far this season. They have had 132 passes sold. They've had almost 30 parties with another 35 booked. And the training, I'm amazed, as a former lifeguard myself, I'm amazed at the amount of training she's doing with the staff. Just in the one meeting, she had 5 different guards that have been observed and graded. So she's really been on top of things. I would have to back what Justin said. I haven't heard anything negative, but she's doing well. There's also, for those that don't even know what it is, there's a Gaga pit going in over the pool part. It's kind of a mix between kickball and soccer. It's done using your hands, but you have to stay within a certain vicinity. That's being put up. Park board's working on that as well. And other than that, that was it. Everything else was pool related.
Might mention who's purchasing that.
Shelley Graydon is purchasing the Gaga pit, donating it to the city. So She bought it and we were discussing where to put it. So they'll be over at Full Park, I'm not sure on the timeline on that one.
Thank you, Beth. Jimmy?
None for streets.
Any for governance?
Yes, we have a building permits issued for 2 fences, 1 deck, and a closed-in porch.
Thank you, Jimmy. Keith?
No, sir.
Anything on finances, Beth?
No, we did find a location for Polo Paints though, the fire department's, hosting us, so that will be a week from Saturday.
Randy?
Should I go down the bid meeting thing? Probably, be a good idea to let everybody know.
Yeah, so it's.
We had, pre-construction, pre-bid meeting here. Jeff Smith, Matt Hanson, somebody from Fishers, somebody from Civil, somebody from Illinois Services, who I think tore a motel down, and then, who was the fourth one? I don't remember who the fourth one was. Because of the $2.5 million grant that we got, we are gonna have a whole bunch of rules that we gotta follow. Who ends up doing this might completely be out of our hands, because they have to have 25% of, like, minority contractors and suppliers involved. They have to have 10% apprentices, I believe, involved. There's a whole list of requirements
It's like if they can't get that, they have to show proof that.
and why they can't. And the gentleman from Illinois Services, when he was here, he says, you mean to tell me if I'm $200,000 cheaper and I'm only 24% with the minority thing, they're gonna give that to somebody else? And Matt Hanson could not answer that question.
Well, they have to, those, what, I don't know, is it EP requirements?
There's BEP requirements and WEP requirements.
Those have to go to DCO's.
Committee.
Yeah, committee
Yeah.
board, and they determine if
They
that's
determine
good
who we
enough.
get to take and who we don't.
So we might not be able to take the lowest responsible bidder if they don't meet those requirements.
Right.
So I think we're in for a long road.
And we don't know how long that's gonna take to get reviewed.
Right, our bid opening is on Thursday
of next week.
Yeah.
next week, but then it has to go to that committee and we don't know how long it will take. Before we can actually bring it in here and vote on it and get started.
So
Cause we
it's
really wanna get started on that this year.
gonna be a very interesting deal. It's gonna take a lot of somebody's time, a lot of Cindy's time, for sure.
Do we have to match the grant? Or was it?
No.
No,
But all these rules are attached to it.
which will make it more expensive to do the job, and so we get less for our, free money. To sum it up in easy terms.
Does the city get to make a recommendation to the committee?
I don't know,
No.
since it's
I mean, I
new,
can't see why
think
you
this
couldn't
year.
anyway.
We get to pick
That's a
the,
good question.
we get the, they call the potential low bidder, that's what we get. After that, they take over.
Yeah, I don't think so, Mark. I know Willett and Hoffman will have a suggestion, but I don't think even they. I think that's probably wasted time too, because it's all controlled by, there was a lady's phone number in our,
Because they
thing
have
for
to be
Willett and Hoffman.
certified Illinois businesses too,
Yes, yeah.
so.
See, out here, you're gonna have a hard time finding
Somebody to meet those.
somebody to meet them requirements.
All of it, yes.
Somebody to do that stuff, you know?
Apprentice operators and things are just, they're not there. They're just not there. The halls are empty,
So that may have a bearing on their decision too.
but it should be the same for each of them. It should be,
Right,
hopefully.
right.
Yeah, I got called and asked to get on the retirees list.
Yeah.
So the halls are empty. And that was one of my concerns in the meeting, was just 150, I'm not talking about the laborers or the pipe fitters or anyone else. 150 quit taking apprentices when the pandemic hit, so we have none.
Nope, we aren't even there.
10% of the people have to be apprentices on this job. And I think the laborers, the electricians, I think they're all the same boat.
Every single category has to have 10%.
Why can't they adjust that based on what's transpired with COVID? If the apprentices numbers have dropped, why can't they adjust that?
You're
these-
dividing the state.
And these are grants that have transpired because of COVID too,
Gotcha.
so
Okay.
I don't know.
But one of our grants is federal and one is state, so we have two different rules to follow. So, keeps it even more interesting.
Anything else, Randy?
Nope, just wanted to let everybody know that, it's gonna be
What time are the openings next week?
11
11 o'clock
11 o'clock Thursday here
on the 12th.
on the 12th.
Chief Randall?
I've got nothing except for I'd like to publicly commend, Officer Flynn. He's been taking the bulk of our shifts here since Officer Becerra's been off at National Guard. He's going on about 3 weeks straight now without a day off, so I just wanted to publicly commend him.
And I've heard nothing but good comments about him too, so,
That's all I have.
thank you, Troy.
You know, Troy, I wanna say too, I see him out constantly. I mean, he's not.
Yes.
Yep, he's
not
definitely,
letting
I agree with
go.
that.
He's doing a great job.
He's definitely a go-getter, so.
Good point. Yeah, it says that even Joe down here had said that he comes through and makes sure everything's copacetic with everybody, so we got a good one there.
Yep, yep, we do.
Cool, thank you, Troy. Sydney? I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Alexa. She's the new reporter for the Sauk Valley News, and she's come from out of town, and I had had phone conversations where I filled her in previous weeks on what was going on when the meeting would close, and it's nice to meet you personally.
Nice to meet you here too,
Thank
and
you.
I have cards for everybody, after the meeting.
And thank you for being here. Okay. No old business? Okay, moving on to new business. Consideration and possible action on Mayor Knapp's appointment for Ward One vacancy. My decision was made on interviews that I did with people who applied for the position, and I came up with, my decision was Tommy Bardell. And we need to, I would like to appoint Tommy, but we need to have a motion, and a second to the motion, and vote on my appointment, whether you guys wanna approve my appointment or not.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Randy and seconded by Jim. All those in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Okay, Tommy, at this time, we'll go ahead and administer the oath of office. I'll come around to you. I, Thomas Bardell,
I, Thomas Bardell,
having been appointed to the office of Alderman on August 2nd, 2021,
having been appointed to the office of Alderman on August 2nd, 2021,
in the city of Polo, county of Ogle, state of Illinois,
in the city of Polo, county of Ogle, state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will protect the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderman to the best of my ability.
I will faithfully discharge the office, the duties of the office.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to, B, consideration and possible action on the updates to the city of Polo employment handbook. That was Beth and DJ, wasn't it?
I put a summary of the changes to the employee handbook in your packets, but then also in the overall, what was changed was in blue and what was going to be removed was red and struck out. Does anybody have any questions on anything? Or comments?
If that's the case, what do we need in,
Do you need a motion to
motion
approve
to
the
approve this
changes?
changes or,
So moved?
Second?
motion made by DJ and seconded by Beth? This is probably a,
Yeah.
roll call. Did you take roll, please, Sydney?
Let's, Alderman Bardell. Alderman Busser?
Yes.
Alderman Chestnut?
Yes.
Alderman Sanders?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sundman?
Yes.
Alderman Schiller?
Yeah.
Thank you, motion carried.
C, presentation of the Whitley 2021 City of Photo Audit. Josh,
Yeah, good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Josh Faber. I'm a manager with Whitley, the city's auditor. And I have Becca Powell with me. She was the in charge on this year's audit. So I'm just gonna go through the highlights briefly. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. We're gonna start with pages 1 through 3. This is our auditor's opinion. We just note at the top of page 2 that the city had a clean, unmodified opinion. It's the clean passing a grade, exactly what the city wants, so good news there. No new accounting standards were implemented this year. And a difference this year compared to last year is we do have the breakout for water and sewer funds. So in the back pages, there'll be this year compared to last year's balances, which we'll get to later and kind of show you kind of how important that is to know actually. Pages 6 through 12, this is the governmental funds balance sheet and income statement for the city. This is how you guys normally operate on a monthly basis. Page 6 breaks out your governmental funds between your major and non-major funds, just basically what's more significant funds than other funds. You'll see at the bottom of the page that the total fund balances are about 1.5 million. About 1 million of that is unassigned, can be used for general operating purposes. So we got about $1 million of general operating money in those funds. And if you guys have any questions, kind of we're going through it, I know I'm going through it quick, so just, you know, if you see anything that pops out at you, just let me know. Page 8, this is kind of shows the net change in fund balance for the governmental funds. You'll see towards the bottom, on the bottom right hand side, the net change was an increase of about 179,000 in those governmental funds for the year. Going on to kind of the most important information for this presentation is pages 10 through 12. This is the same balance sheet income statements, but for the business type funds, so water, sewer, and sanitation. You'll see at the bottom of page 11, kind of in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see the change in net position for those funds was a decrease of about 126,000. So the city is losing money in those three funds, which if you look at the water fund, it looks to be that is coming from the water fund. But if you look on page 12, page 12 is kind of where I tell people to look if you want to see kind of from a cash flows perspective, where the money's coming in, where money's going out. You'll kind of see up towards the top, you'll see that cash flows for operating activities, and net cash flows from capital and investing activities. The big thing here is the sewer fund. I know we've kind of talked about this last year, but the sewer fund, you know, they took in about $400,000, you know, cash in and then payments to suppliers out. The kind of deceiving factor is the transfers in that fund of 151,000. That's what's making it show an increase this year. Without the transfers in, I mean, it's looking at a decrease of about 130,000 in that fund. So the sewer fund, I just wanted to make it clear that, you know, that fund is losing money, the way it's currently set up.
I don't see how you come up with this, because we pay for everything as we go. I mean, every time we have something done, and we had a lot of things done here recently, that man, they knocked this fund.
Yeah.
I think you and I talked about this last year.
Yeah.
That $1 million or $1.3 million account we got,
Mhm.
and it's in a CD, right? Okay? By the time we would get to catch that CD, that CD is meant for these repairs,
Mhm.
okay? By the time we get to where we would cash that in, we've already paid the bill, so there's no reason to cash that to cash that CD in,
Mhm.
you know? And I get, that fund keeps growing by a little bit because of interest and stuff. I just don't see how we're losing money. I guess I don't understand that.
I mean, your total fund net position for the sewer fund is, you know, you got 4.3 million, so, I mean, you got $2 million of cash, so that includes that $1.3 million CD. This is just kind of activity for the year, your cash in, cash out is kind of showing a loss of about 130,000, so, I mean, you have money in there, but, you know, over time, it's just kind of, you know, something to look at down the road of what potential, and I'll show you a page in the back that compares it to last year to kind of, I know last year was kind of the big red flag, because last year was the first year we separated water from sewer, so that was the first year we kind of could see how each fund was doing separately, so I think you'll see kind of in the back, it did better this year, but still not positive. So I mean, it's gonna, the more years we have, the better, you know, sample size we can kind of tell, you know, what the true activities are, just because some years, you know, you have more repairs than others. I know this year you didn't have any capital expenditures, so everything this year was strictly maintenance, so that flows through expenses and 100%. So, you know, I'm just kind of, you know, telling you guys what to look at as this progresses the next several years. So, so that's kind of the biggest thing to note just from the audit. I have a couple other things to go through real quick. Pages 20 through 22 and 23. This is the cash and investment footnote. Basically, we just note that all the city's cash and CDs were covered by FDIC or pledged collateral for the year. Along the lines of, you know, you have all the long-term debt, page 25, we have noted that there's about 417,000 of principal retired on long-term debt this year, and next year there's about 425,000. This is as of April 30th, 2021, so any debt that's occurred after that, you know, that's not included in the audit report currently. One of the other things that affects the city is the net pension liability. That starts on the footnote starts on page 29, but I'm gonna go to page 43 because I feel like that's a pretty good representation of the several years. It's a 10 years calendar, but it's only been 6 years since it was implemented, so the line that I want you guys to note is about 3/4 of the way down. There's that net pension liability asset line, and it kind of goes the last 6 years. So you can see in 2020, it was an asset of 222,000. Last year, it was a liability of 73,000. So you know that's a $300,000 swing in 1 year, and that's strictly due to basically net investment income. You guys pay into IMRF invests those funds, and that affects the liability. So you can kind of see in 2018 it was a liability of 280,000, and that's due to, you know, that investment loss of 120,000 about right in the middle of the page. So you can see how that line item affects things. So that affects the state net position, which is the full accrual. So you guys don't operate on that, but that is, you know, ultimately a liability to the city at some point. So I just want to point that out. So that those good market conditions we had at the end of 2020 really helped. What I was going to tell you is on page 53 and 54, that is the breakout, towards the back, that is the breakout of the water and sewer funds from 2021 to 2020. You'll see kind of on page 54, that's the income statement side, kind of towards 3/4 of the way down. In 2020, the sewer fund had a loss of before transfers of 268,000. This year it was a loss of 139,000. So you can tell like it's still losing, but it was about half of what the loss was last year. So we'll keep an eye on that to make sure we can kind of keep things evened out. You know, and as these projects come in, that might affect things as well. So we'll just we'll work together to make sure we evaluate everything to make sure we're doing what we can. Other than that, the last thing I just want to mention is on page 59. This is just a TIF compliance opinion. I just want to note that we did have a clean opinion on the TIF as well, so no issues with that. That's all I have on the audit report. Not many changes from last year, just kind of year-to-year number changes. Do you guys have any questions? I know the sewer fund's kind of a big thing, but we can talk about that.
I'd love to get more and talk to you about it, so I understand it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that we were forced to, you know why, we were forced
Yeah.
to do this.
All the bond
When
stuff,
we
yeah.
got that,
Loan.
loan,
Yeah,
Yep.
USDA.
the USDA rules, we were forced to separate that stuff.
Yep.
Other than that, before that, we had no clue.
Yep.
Because it was bundled together, you know?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, something's losing money, and, well, I tell you what, I can't imagine not having a bunch of angry citizens that we gotta go in and raise our water rates.
Yeah.
That is not gonna go over very well.
Yeah, as a citizen, I don't really want it either, but numbers don't lie in this case.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to D, consideration of possible action on opening up a full-time position for a fifth worker on the Public Works Department. How do you wanna start this discussion? We've had this discussion for a while, Kendall, do you?
I can, kinda fill you in on it a little bit if you want me to, sure. What we have, a lot of things going on right now. And what our biggest deal is we lost one man, he left and went to ComEd, and then we picked up another man, Justin. So, we got 4 full-time guys right now. One of them is brand new, he don't really count much. I mean, sorry about that, but he don't. I mean, as far as I can't count on him to do things on his own, right now. So basically I'm at 3 guys, well, one of them is training him, so I'm at 2 guys. Now, at the end of this month, we have to start picking up Boring's yard waste, which is fine, but we were supposed to get a part-time guy for that, and when Brendan decided he was gonna leave, I decided not to work on the part-time guy right now, let's work on what we gotta get through before he leaves, and what we're gonna do when he's gone, and so I just didn't have the time to do that either. Last week, Mike was on vacation, and we have a camera crew coming here August 10th to camera the sewer lines under town, the older ones underground here, the infrastructure. They're gonna do about 10,000 foot. And in order for them to do that, we have to run the jetter down, every one of them, several times, and clean everything out, or else your camera isn't gonna pick up what you wanna see. So Nate and I are basically in the street department, and we did jetting all last week. We did jetting the week before. When Brendan left, I had to go with Mike and learn how to do the tests. We have to do daily checks and tests. Someone has to be here 7 days a week for the water and the sewer plants. So, with Mike going on vacation, so in other words, I haven't done my job in 3 weeks at all, nothing. And so, if we can get another person in here to jump in, that's gonna help us out a lot. I got, as you can see, the high school's kind of tore up. The curb, the city had to pay for the curbs at the schools, no big deal. They got 2 of them done for me, and we blacktopped them, 2 schools are done. Well, I'm waiting on the concrete guys to finish putting the concrete down before I put the blacktop on. School starts in 2 weeks. Yeah. We usually use 4 guys to do blacktop, we're gonna use 2. That's all I got. And I have to get it done, because I have to paint the yellow where they can't park, I have to paint the blue for the handicaps where they can park, I have to paint the crosswalks. All this gotta be done in 2 weeks during the camera time. Everything's going on. I'm really not gonna go through it, I'm just gonna tell you all this stuff ain't getting done. There is stuff everywhere that I am very concerned about. And if we were to get the 5th full-time guy, we were gonna have the part-time guy, and I believe we talked about up to 15,000 we could pay him. In the wintertime, we pay a guy to do the sidewalks uptown about 3,000, well, there's 18,000 we don't have to pay out. The mooring thing, we're gonna save about 6,000 a year. So, what I'd like to see is another full-time guy. One of the biggest reasons is I'm old, and I'm gonna retire. And somebody's gonna have to take over. And Mike's gonna retire in about 6 years, and somebody's gonna have to take over. And if we don't get the right guys in at the right places, we're not gonna be in very good shape. And the city will we will not like these not benefits, it's gonna be a bad deal. So, I am asking for the fifth person, and, I think the other thing that's very, very important that you all should hear is that I was elected to Public Works, guy here in town. We've never had one, so I didn't have anybody to follow. Whatever I did, I had to make it up as I go. If that's gonna be a success and we're gonna keep this as a Public Works, then I need to make it successful. And what I need to do is get something done on that, as I'm basically a street guy and a sewer guy, and then sometimes I get to do paperwork. At the same time, I'm answering the phone calls all day long, and I'm not getting anything done. And if I could get something better on paper, things going as a Public Works Director, maybe the next person that gets the job will have a chance, maybe. I talked to Doug last week, I talked with you two. I wanna come in here each week and do a committee report for the Public Works, like the police department does and all the aldermen do. I think that's gonna keep everybody on the same page as what's going on, as far as like Randy talked about this bid opening coming up, and now, you know, we got this camera crew coming. Don't forget, we're still working on a new water plant, the water tower. There's a lot going on. And as soon as this project starts, somebody's gotta be down here, either Mike or I, has to be at these projects with all the questions that they're gonna have about water and sewer and storms and what's going on here and there. That means I'm not doing my duties again. So I'm not trying to tell you I'm lazy, I'm just trying to tell you I'm buried. I need some help. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Something that has happened here in the, I would say in the last month, is the fact that Mike and Kendall and the guys have been running around doing this jetting, okay? Well, as we've been doing this jetting, we have ran into
Yeah, I forgot to
four
tell you that part.
places.
Major problems.
We are in major trouble. One of them's on the agenda here later tonight.
Yeah.
The manhole down here at Buffalo and Colden, there's 2 feet of pipe before it that is completely gone. The wall is gone, the floor is gone. I mean, it's I can't believe a car hasn't ended up in it yet. You know, it's that bad.
And that's just one.
That's
We
just
found
one.
some more.
So, what, you know, and all the different arguing back and forth about the 5th guy and stuff, we should have been jetting these places. This is something that needs to be put on a schedule so that we have some sort of an idea, you know, that something's going wrong, so it doesn't get so far out of hand, that it's an emergency and we gotta have it done right now, you know.
I know some of these that we've been jetting haven't been jetted in 5 years. They should be jetted at least once a year.
Once a year.
We're behind on that, and it's gonna cost us.
So,
We gotta pick up the pace.
for me, you know, maybe we can start scheduling some of that stuff on a yearly basis. I think something else that can happen might not be a popular idea, but I think that we need to start fixing some of the smaller issues ourselves.
Yeah.
We've got one over here where it's 6 feet in the ground. Well, we got a backhoe. We got guys who know how to run that. And we got a guy that knows how to couple it all back together. I
Yeah.
see no reason not to be doing that kind of stuff ourselves.
If we got the personnel, we can do that. Another thing coming up too is sidewalks, curbs. The guy the city's been using for a lot of years is about 82, I think, and he's ready to retire. I don't know why he's still working, but we are going to be doing our own curbs and sidewalks when they come up, which should save some money too.
I've seen Sterling the other day, their whole public works crew, 4 foot of sidewalk out on the north end of town. The whole crew was there. And I'm not saying that we're gonna do that, I'm just, you know, we've let a lot of things go, and, we've got a lot tossed in our face, you know.
Well, another thing that I let go is the catch basins. We started a list, and we kinda got a route, and you go and check these catch basins, and it's on two full pages, 329 catch bases in town, just in case anybody wants to know. I went through the first 200 the other day, and 32 of them have to be completely rebuilt. Well, that's just not a 5-minute job. You've gotta take and get this stuff out. In most cases, you gotta cut the concrete, get the grading out, rebuild it, whether you do it with concrete and forms or whether you do it with blocks and mortar, doesn't make any difference. So, once you get back to the top to put the grate back on, now we gotta have a concrete truck come to town and pour this concrete. They don't come to town for under a yard. So I'm gonna have to have 4 or 5 of them ready at the same time. And each guy is gonna become a finisher. One guy stays here, the truck goes there, one guy stays there, and that's how we're gonna have to do it. Again, they are old infrastructure made out of red brick. They are falling apart daily. One year I remember, before I started, about 10 years ago, Butch McKean, he did 60 of them one year, went down inside and mortared them. Well, we hired it done back then, and that saved us, and those really aren't the ones falling apart.
Kendall, when you say the catch basins, are those like those storm drains, like the?
That's the storm drain.
Okay.
Yep, the ones the cats live in,
Yeah.
that's the
Thank
ones,
you.
yep.
Thank you.
The one thing you didn't mention is the fact that now that Justin has been hired on to the Public Works Department, and he is kinda committing himself to be the future Mike.
Yes, which
Basically.
means he has to get his water certificates, verifications. That he can do within the first year. The sewer takes 6 years. You have to be here 6 years before you can be an operator at the sewer plant. So this is why, when Justin came in, we're gonna stick him in Mike's back pocket, and he's gonna learn. And I tell you what, Mike's a smart cat. He taught me how to do them water and sewer checks, and I've never seen a dang one of them once. And he taught me within 2 weeks, and I did it all while he was gone. I actually came in on a Sunday and did one by myself.
So what's gonna happen then is that Justin is gonna have to devote a great amount of his time in that capacity because of what, in the long run, in the future plans, it will work out good, because if we had to hire a facilitator off the street, this city would be paying buku money. If we could keep it within house, like we're trying to do
Right.
some of the other projects, then.
That's specifically what we kinda hired him for, was to do this. He's gonna take over, be the
Which
next
puts
one.
more of a emphasis on the street department and having to have that guy there.
He'll be helping us do some things, but not as much. We need the 5th guy to do both. And being as we're Public Works, we can all do. We might be able to make it so we got 4 guys, one guy comes in on the weekend once a month. Might be alright. So that you can actually spend time with your family. My vacations are normally I'll get 1 or 2 days, but my vacations are between March and April, and I've gotta get rid of them or lose it. Yeah, cause I just don't have time in the summer to take time off, we just don't have it. And so, it's kinda tough, I gotta scurry to get rid of mine, and that's in the spring when there's a lot we can do. Like spray weeds, for instance, that never got done this year. Got her half done, but didn't get her all.
Or Justin happened to be buried in Mike's pocket. I mean, that's,
Yep.
you know, we had high hopes for Brendan. Brendan found a job at ComEd. You cannot blame for somebody for wanting to
Better than themselves,
better
their
themselves,
family.
you know, but we ain't got much time here to find that guy, and then, like Doug said, if we went out and hired somebody, look out, that's a 3-figure job.
So that brings you to who you think is the guy.
I want a guy that used to work here, and I don't have to train him. The whole time I've been here, I've been training people every year. In our job, you have to see 12 months to understand it. If you start right before winter, you get to see it. Next winter, you'll know what you're doing. This winter, you're learning. It takes 12 months. Well, every time I got somebody trained, they either went to the water department, or they left, or they got fired, or whatever happened. I'm about tired of training. And, the guy I want has already worked for me for 2 years. And I think he would be a very good candidate for Public Works Director in about 4 years when I go. I see that in this person.
He was the whole entire reason that we were able to start that leaf back truck. He was the guy. He did that all on his own. And to lose in today's employment fabric around the country, I hate to see us lose a guy like that, I really do. You just don't see people come along like that with that kind of common sense.
Well, and I got him a CDL, which I've had to do several times, which you've gotta teach him in the book, then you gotta take him down. We were going to Princeton, it's an hour drive down, they flunked, we come back, okay, let's go again. All this is taking 2-3 hours every dang time, that I just don't have. This guy's already got CDL done. I already trained him once. So, that's my recommendation. I don't know how you guys feel. I need help, and I need it quick, and I need a good man.
So, that brings us back to the age-old question, how long, or how much is it before, or when can we actually let loose, or can the police department let loose again?
We got him going in Wednesday. If all goes well, that was end of August, early September, correct?
Yep.
So I don't know how quickly, but
Yeah,
I would love to see that succession plan in place.
Yeah.
And maintain that high character person we all know is gonna be
Yep.
committed to what happen.
Well, I'll make the motion,
To open up a full-time position and
Yes.
hire
I'll make both motions if that's what you want.
we're gonna one at a time.
two motions.
Okay, I'll make the motion to open up the full-time position, and then I'll make another motion that we hire Tim Rockland for that position.
Is there a second?
Second. Okay. On the first motion of open the fifth full-time position, we got a motion by Randy and seconded by Keith. Would you take a look, or any more discussion on it? Would you, take a look, please?
Alderman Busser?
Yes.
Alderman Chestnut?
Yes.
Alderman Sanders?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sundin?
Yes.
Okay.
Alderman Schoen?
Yes.
Alderman Bardell?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Okay, Randy? The second motion is
To hire Tim Rockwood for that position.
And what was the date?
Effective when?
September 1st or upon
Yeah.
Whenever his recovery.
Troy's return?
recovery.
Because he's committed himself to stay there until you are recovered.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's fine, we're not in a hurry on that much.
Motion made by Randy,
You know, we
second
could
by
do-
Keith, to fulfill the position, open position, fifth full-time, worker in public works by Tim Rockwood to start, the position, tentatively September 1st,
Or chief's
or
return.
upon Troy's, recovery. Any more discussion? Would you take a roll, please, Susan?
Alderman Chestnut?
Yes.
Alderman Sanders?
No.
Alderwoman Sundin?
Yes.
Alderman Schoen?
Yes.
Alderman Bardell?
Yes.
Alderman Busser?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Oh. Are we gonna make a recommendation of the way to pay it this time?
Can we hold off on that? Can we?
Yeah, as long as he's okay with that, not knowing what the pay scale is gonna be.
I think he knows about where he's gonna end up, you know, and I think he's comfortable with that, I believe, from what I've
I
heard.
think so. Okay. Moving on to E, consideration possible action on the zoning board of appeals decision on building service rates for the city of Boulder. We got the list of service rates, most of them went down to make it more applicable for the people who want to do construction in the city. It's more it's not so varied, it's a little more, Did anybody do we have any discussion on this, any questions or opinions on it?
I'd like to see those numbers going down.
Yeah, and they're significantly good. matter of fact, there are no rates for plumbing now, is it?
Electric. Was the NA was for?
They never had it isn't really,
Minimum fee is $50.
it isn't really conducive to making more money for our building inspector, with which we don't completely cover his wages with the building permits anyway. But it makes it more conducive for the people who wanna do construction and build. And I think that's what the basic opinion on everybody was, is to try to make it more appealing for people, so they don't have to go through so many hoops, or don't have to pay so much money to do what they wanna do. And that was the opinion of basically everybody, and these figures reflect that. So, if we don't have any more discussion, I'll go ahead and,
If I may,
go ahead.
there was, one issue, an ancillary issue that came up, because there, in the additions and remodeling, I believe, no, it's in the, other category, in the second page, the building permit fees for garage and for storage shed. So there was a discussion on what's the difference between a garage and a storage shed. And the zoning board of appeals just asked that we try to come up with some definition to distinguish between the two. So I just did a little bit of research and came up with what's there towards the bottom of the second page of the decision. I don't know if the definition between the two.
Someone who's not, who is not a Illinoisan by birth, when you guys say shed, just clarifying, is that everything from something to park, push more in, up to a pole barn?
Well, I think that's the question being
That's
asked.
the question,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I've heard people use the word shed and they're referring to a pole barn, and I've heard shed and I've seen people, push their little push mower into a little 10 by 10.
One of the definitions indicated that if it's large enough to hold a motor vehicle, or has a garage door, has a door large enough for a motor vehicle to go in, then it would be not a storage shed, it would be a garage. But then I raised the issue, well, if it's a motor vehicle, well, there's an ATV, a UTV, golf cart qualifying, you could have a small, much smaller, structure for those to be parked in, that you may not wanna classify as a garage. You might even have a pink one or something, a golf cart.
Because you can't do it by square feet. Yeah, you can't do it by square feet, because the pole barn counts. Pole barn counts as storage shed, and you can't do it by square foot.
The only difference is the price.
Yeah.
One of them is, you could not exceed $150, and your sheds are $25 to $50. In the big picture, I'm not sure why we shouldn't just make the garages for $50, the same as a storage shed.
That's
And then
one alternative.
That'd be eliminate all the headaches, and then we don't have to start defining, is it a garage or a shed? Overhead door, you can put an overhead door in a shed. You can put one in a 10 by 10 shed, or an 8 by 8 shed, you can put them.
You know, I mean, I guess just sitting here thinking, and I don't, if this is wrong or right or whatever, but I guess if you're gonna use it commercially, then that might dictate that it's different.
Well, we've got a commercial.
I think there's a commercial one there,
So then,
for a commercial garage.
What would a portico share count as?
What would a what count as?
Portico share. Where
Portico
you drive under,
Yeah.
attached to your house.
Yeah, there
A carport.
is, yeah,
It's a
carport
carport.
is in
That's
here.
considered a carport?
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yes, I think, there's a carport, which is $25
Great, okay.
for a building permit to erect or remodel.
So you're saying we wanna change the rate for the storage shed to the same as what garages are?
No, I say that we make the storage shed and garage the same thing.
Yeah.
Anything under 50 square feet, less than 50 square feet, $25, over 50 square feet is $50.
So residential or
That'd be a
commercial?
Residential.
And that's the way it's worded now anyway, right?
No, it's $150 for the residential garage,
Oh,
You just change
Well,
that
it's 10
list.
cents a square foot, but not exceeding $150.
Can we make that change without the approval of the
Yeah,
zoning?
you have the final say.
Just make that $50 rather than $150.
So you're saying-
It says residential not exceeding for proposed for garage.
So X out the garage part, call it storage shed or garage.
I'd leave a garage.
Residential, yeah.
Residential.
At those rates, let's
Yeah.
put
Garage
storage
not,
shed.
garage
But not exceeding $50.
Just list that there.
Right at the very top of the page, right
See
here.
Well,
Garage
probably
residential,
make it 50.
so it's still gonna be 10 cents per square foot, but not exceeding $50
Yeah.
instead of $150.
Okay.
That makes it equal to the storage shed of more than 50.
So we don't have to determine.
Right.
I like that.
That cover it then?
Simple.
That being the case, I'll go ahead and, entertain a motion to approve the rate schedule as submitted by the zoning board of appeals.
So moved.
Or would that be amended by us?
Recommended,
Approved by us, recommended by.
they're recommending to the
ZBA.
city council.
But I'm saying we're amending what they recommended.
Yes,
so-
as amended.
So, just one.
Yes.
As amended.
And I will second that.
Okay, so motion made by Jimmy, second by DJ, take roll please.
Alderman Sanders?
Yes.
Alderman Sutton?
Yes.
Alderman Stone?
Yes.
Alderman Bardell?
Yes.
Alderman Hudson?
Yes.
Alderman Chestnut?
Yes.
Thank you, the motion carried.
Any other business this evening? Not, I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
Oh, you got more. Where are you done?
Turn it over, guys. Okay, moving on down.
Halfway, man.
We all voted.
Okay, we're gonna bypass that because we don't have the information we need.
For what? Oh, the fees?
Okay, so G, consideration possible action on a garbage contract with mooring disposal. Yeah, that was important.
Yeah, that would be.
That could be something to talk about.
What do we have here?
The ordinance 2118, so that we could change the sanitation fees.
Rates.
Rates.
If that's the case, we can't.
We need to pass, well, you don't have to pass the contract tonight. The latest, you need to pass it at the next meeting. Because then we don't have.
And we
garbage.
can pass it in one meeting. Would
Yeah,
it be
we can
better-
pass it in
Would it
one
be
meeting.
better to discuss it now and pass it next meeting, or?
You do that?
Everybody get a chance to look at the new contract?
I guess the one thing that sticks out in my mind is no more alleys.
Yeah.
No more.
It's gotta be.
Aaron does not wanna be in the alleys, and that includes
We really.
the ones along the highway.
I don't blame you. It's gonna be a.
Those are narrow, you got, have to close the vehicle down.
It's gonna be a controversial discussion there by the public on that one.
Yep.
And they gotta be informed, they need to know now.
Yeah, we have to let the, people that have alley pickup, we need to let them know that there is no longer going to.
And we kinda need to come up with some sort of a plan as to what we're gonna do. Are we gonna put something at the end of the alleys that we build, that they can stick their toters in, or what? You know, we gotta have some sort of a plan here. Cause like, if you, did you and Jimmy ever take the tour with Kendall? 'Cause Kendall can run you right through it.
The most important part is right down here.
Yep.
Between Mason and Colden. There's 3 blocks, I believe, that end up at Tom's old house that way. And the people on the northern side, if they have their toters in the garage in the wintertime, they gotta drag them through the snow and out.
Down that hill.
And down the hill,
Yeah.
or up the hill.
Same way on Division.
Yeah.
Not as significant, but it does the same thing.
It does the same thing because of the garages are all in the alley.
Right.
And a lot of people leave their toters. But if you go around, there's plenty of people, I'm one of them, I got a toter right in front of my house that just sits there in front of the garage. There's a lot of people that just leave them sit there. They're not that big of an eyesore, they roll around. If you don't have garage space, you can make this
Mine
work.
sits in front of my garage.
It's just no one likes change, just no one.
Well,
They just can't stand it.
the area that you're talking about, everybody that's on the south side of that, I mean, they gotta drop
Yeah.
off from their yard with this,
Yeah.
straight.
It's 4 to 5 foot from their yard to the sidewalk.
Yep.
And then they gotta take it out to the curb yet.
Yeah.
So we talked, Randy and I did, about the possibility of maybe putting a pad of cement at the end of the alley on the city property, where they could roll them down the alley, set them there Monday morning, and then roll them back. There's a couple of blocks where it may be important to look at.
Or I guess there's the possibility that we build those things big enough, or hopefully big enough, where they could just keep the toter there, and if they, say they're elderly, and maybe they can only, they walk their garbage down a bag at a time or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
However, you don't wanna be in the alleys no more, it's too many accidents, too much stuff he's had to pay for.
When's the contract effective if they gets ratified?
September first.
We got 4
September
weeks.
first?
Yep. 4
Not
weeks.
a long time.
No.
I'd say if you're gonna
Where would you build these-
notify
these
people, you better get her
platforms,
through.
though? Sorry
At the
about
end
that.
of the alley on
End of
city
alley?
property.
So almost like on sidewalks or something, or?
Well, some of these alleys we're talking about, there are no sidewalks going downhill. Say like, from
I'm
your
thinking of
house,
bands, yeah.
from your house, there's no sidewalk on the east side going down. So it'd be like Drew Terry's yard back there, or the other fella that's been working on that house across the road from you. We put a pad there that they can set their toters on. It might help. I don't know whether it's the exact greatest idea or not, but we've gotta do something. Mooring don't want in our alleys, and I don't want them in there. That's 80,000 pounds that goes down the alley this way, and then it turns around in the middle of my road, tears it up, and comes back, cause they can only pick them up on one side.
And this
Yeah, ours
contract
backs
reflects
right
that.
up, yeah.
This contract reflects those prices.
Yeah.
Them not being in there.
And then, every other Monday, they send the recycle truck down the alley, tear up my street, turn around, come back. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that one up by me, it tears up every year.
Every time, just destroys them. And then the people that they go through the yard, yes, those are my phone calls, I get those. Sydney gets them,
We're gonna get a bunch of phone calls over this.
yeah.
Garages.
Yep, but it's really not our fault. They don't wanna be in the alleys because of their insurance company don't want them in the alleys.
Right.
Because of their liability that they've had to pay for.
And I think that the only town that in the alleys is Polo.
The only town that allows it is Polo. Now, we still allow them, we will allow them in the business alley. There's 2 blocks here and a half a block or something behind Jeff. They can go in them business alleys. Basically, they have to, dumpsters.
Yeah. So y'all got an idea of what the prices were on it and the increases and where everything's at? So we'll keep that in mind for the next meeting. We'll go ahead and act on it, but I do think that we need to get it out there of what the tentative plans are, because it's gonna happen.
We're working on letters to send to the residents who have alley pickup right now. Because also, there's no more loose pickup, there's several businesses that have loose garbage pickup where they just put the garbage bag out. Mooring disposal is requiring toters now, so we're also working on sending a letter to them as well.
Okay.
Like the town hall is one of them. They
Plus
set their
maybe
bags out.
Maybe get it on Facebook too, and
Yeah.
possibly.
We're gonna,
give them
I was
something
gonna,
on the- I know we wanna
contact
get
the
it.
media to get it in the newspaper, we're gonna put it on Facebook, send the letters out, have flyers here at City Hall with information.
With word like that the future contract with mooring disposal for sanitation pickup is not gonna include alleys, that people that live in the alleys are gonna have to make arrangements.
And a lot of them can make their own arrangements. I've seen people that, they put a little small fence this way and this way, and they can set them in there, right out their front door. Geez, I think, Craig and Cindy Bowling had one of them there for a while.
My other thoughts were, is if it came to people that were elderly and unable to do it, that we possibly could get involved the, school with the kids that have to do the.
10 hours public service work per year.
Public service work to come over and just designate them to be the ones to, they could do that through the school to take care of the people that request something like that, and then I think that would work out good, to give a
Yeah.
tough on both of them.
Again, we're not trying to make it hard on anyone, but we've gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the advantage of delaying this decision till the next meeting?
Well, did you
The
review the
ordinance.
contract?
I did review the contract and I talked to it, with Randy about it as well.
Randy made the changes he thought should.
Yeah, there was some things that were,
So did Steve get contacted about the changes? That's the next thing.
I, no.
Okay, so we can't pass it, cause I guess Steve has not been contacted about the changes.
There was some things that got left in there, I'm sure by accident, over rates, okay, and that they could come back. Well, that's no longer that way. This is the done deal.
When Randy and I went over and talked to Steve and Larry about that 3-year contract, we made it one of those specifications that they couldn't come and raise it every year.
So if gas prices double, they can't come back.
So
Right, right.
we just wanna make sure that's not in there.
Cause they did that on that 10-year contract every year, it seemed like.
So the ordinance and the revision should be made by next meeting, but I still don't think it's a problem, let people know what's gonna happen.
Maybe I missed this, what's the term length for this contract?
3.
3?
Yeah.
No more 10-year contracts.
10-year used to be the norm for most
Yeah.
contracts.
Now, basically, from what we got from them, from Larry and Steve, was it's about 3 anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Things change too much in a 10-year.
they mentioned 5, but 3 sounded better
Yeah.
as far as them not negotiating.
We did, I mean, I really truly believe we did real well. I thought we were gonna see rates approach 18 to 20 bucks. And that's not even gonna happen by the end of the contract, so.
So the city's gonna pick up the yard waste then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we got that area out there, you know, where the burn pile is. We took that trickling filter all down and left the concrete floor and left 2/3 of the wall. That's where we can put all the leaves and the grass clippings and everything in there. And then when we burn, we put the ashes in there, and we spread them out on farmer's field. It goes back into we're going green, baby.
You know,
Now that you, oh, sorry.
you know something? I got thanked here not too long ago. Somebody just started going out there, and they had no idea that we had that
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
No, they go,
That's nice
that's
out
just.
It's been there for years, but we really improved it
Over
last
5
year.
years, till I knew it was there.
Last year, we have made so much capacity. What was your question, Cynthia?
I was asking, what do they burn out there? Cause when they're burning it, we're smelling it. And I'm just wondering, you know, like for EPA, I see a lot.
There shouldn't be anything burning out there that's not,
Nope.
cause when we go out there to start the
Greenwood or
fire,
something?
we have to pull all the nails out, anything that's got nails. We're actually, I'm probably gonna put a security camera out there, solar one, because I'm getting really tired of people.
Dumping stuff, yeah, cause
Yeah.
sometimes that stuff stinks and it
It's,
just, it
that's
just
not
takes
from
that.
No.
us. That's not from us. There shouldn't be anything out there burning that's not
No.
sticks. So, I mean, maybe every now and then somebody might throw a railroad tie from their house or something, but they throw it on hot coals, I'm not
Yeah,
getting
you're
it
not
out of there.
pulling it out, yeah.
It's burning.
But
But,
on that note, there's not a single reason I can think of that we shouldn't have a camera out there.
yeah, I was looking over, I can get a camera, a solar one, way up on a post out there, and it'll come right to my phone, $98. And I don't see why we don't, cause I got people dumping grass when it's not supposed to be there. Last weekend, I had some idiot, they took their stump grinder or something, and I know it wasn't Milburn, cause I talked to him about it. They ground out all their stumps with all the dirt and everything, and dumped it right on the burn pile. It's like, well, why don't you just put it out? It's great, dump dirt on there. So Nate and I had to clean all that up. This doesn't make sense anymore
The
sometimes.
fake camera works too. You remember that?
Well, now that you mentioned it, it won't.
Yeah, but $100, I think we can make some use out of this.
Throw away the other fake camera?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sign up.
We even put a wire on it to make it look like it was working.
Yeah, I even put a fake wire on that one, right into the ground.
Anyway, I think it's notable to say that we're saving $6,000 a year on a 3-year contract.
Yes.
By yard waste pickup.
Well, and when Mooring picked it up, they go around and do all the dumpsters at the bars and everything, all the glass, everything. And then they go do the yard waste in the same truck. It's all going in the landfill.
Yep.
Well, that's not right, that's not how this works. Oh, we're gonna change that, and make our landfill last a little longer. So, we're doing our part, we're trying.
So, Tom, do you have the new one all typed out without?
I don't, but it wouldn't take me long to just modify with the changes.
I mean,
Yes.
you wanted to speed this process up, I can always hand deliver that to Steve. I mean,
I could probably have it by Wednesday, no, it won't tomorrow.
That's fine.
It's all day long, crazy.
Well, we just need to email.
Yeah, yeah.
You go up there after the meeting and get it done.
Yeah, well, yeah. You come with me.
Yeah, okay, here we
Okay,
go.
moving on to H, consideration possible action on a manhole repair at Franklin Avenue and Buffalo Street. And you've already heard what it looks like.
Yeah, Randy's already explained all this to you.
And I think this is one of the deals where we need to, like we did with the last one, for the betterment of the city, or because it's an emergency. I don't wanna see somebody's car end up down there, you know, like this. I think we need to get this fixed as
We
soon as
did think that it
possible.
wasn't a big enough emergency that we needed to call a special meeting for it, but we need to act on it tonight.
I think so.
I think the bid's
26 something, 26.9, 26.9, I think.
That's how we got that thing there.
So I entertain a motion to approve the repair on Franklin and Buffalo Street.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Randy, seconded by Keith, at the proposed, estimate. Want to roll, please, Sydney?
You have, Alderwoman Sundin.
Yes.
Alderman Schoen.
Yes.
Alderman Bardell.
Yes.
Alderman Busser.
Yes.
Alderman Chestnut.
Yes.
Alderman Sanders.
Yes.
Thank you, the motion carries.
Okay, and finally, consideration and possible action on social media policy for the Polo City Council. Is that in,
Yeah, that's in the packet.
any discussion on it, or?
Well, I just had a question on what, I guess what the end game is there, as far as, if you're talking about an elected official's personal social media account, Facebook, Twitter, what have you. I spoke with an attorney down at the IML, asking what we truly can do with that, and he put it to me very bluntly that if you're elected, there is no law that says you can be punished, there's no decision by the courts, that say anything on that. Now, if it was, how do you put it, if you weren't clearly separated, so if Beth had Alderwoman Sundin on her Twitter account, then it could fall under, policy. So I'm just wondering, are we saying this is just kind of a recommendation of how we feel we should move forward? Or, because when I read policy, I read, it's this or punishment.
And you are correct, we cannot punish an elected official.
Right.
So it's just a recommendation, if there was somebody made a concern about somebody's post. So I know employees are enforced by social media policy, but
Sure.
there is nothing for council members, and it's just a recommendation, so please watch what you're doing.
I will say, one thing he did mention though on that note, is that, if you're using city resources, so you'll have tablets, obviously at that point, that's something, but, so that was just my question, cause
Yeah,
when I read policies or, it's just, I want clarification.
Yeah, I don't think it's a real question of legalities as far as that's concerned, or anything like that, it's just, it just seems that we wanna keep our, I don't know how to,
Well, I think,
Professionalism?
well, civility is one thing, and then the other that, Sydney raised was the Open Meetings Act and the Public Records Act.
And it can be FOIA, depending on what type of content is put out there, so.
it's just, we wanna, being representatives of the city, we just wanna make sure that we look that way,
Sure.
And I mentioned too that, there really are no sanctions for violation.
Pretty much in a nutshell, I don't think there's an individual in this room, maybe some of you folks, that doesn't know how Randy feels about Facebook. It's a joke, okay? Because it's nothing but trouble. And if you ain't got the wherewithal to come and stand in front of the person that you're making comments about, and tell them to their face that, then it's, in my mind, you don't belong up here. It just, why do you wanna hide how you feel? Why does anyone wanna do that? Why do you wanna start this trouble because you grow this mouth on Facebook and you can say whatever you want? I just don't get it, I'm never gonna get it. I couldn't even tell you how to get on Facebook to read something, and I don't wanna be on there. Somebody wants to talk to me, pick this up and come to my house, or meet me down here. However it is, I'm a big boy, I can take it. You know, I think everybody ought to conduct themselves the same exact way. That Facebook stuff is just wrong. I know it's the future, I know the younger generation loves it, my kid loves it. I have no time for it at all, period.
Do we need to go into closed session? Anybody else have any comments? I'd like to thank everybody in the public. Oh, even if there's no repercussions on it, just pass it for the sake of having it.
Yeah, if you can do that as a recommendation for.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the social media policy as submitted. Motion made by Tommy, second by Jim.
That's his first motion.
Yeah. What second by Jim? Second, okay. This will have to be the.
Yeas and nays, yes.
Yeah, all those in favor, please sign aye. Opposed, same sign. I think we're done. Let me turn the page over, man. Okay. So anyway, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by TJ.
Second.
Second by Randy, all those in favor, signify by aye. Thank you, everybody.